Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back in warthunder and I thought we would do a video having a look at some devblogs that have come out the last few days. We'll also have a chat about the T86 and what I think it's going to be worth on the market after the event is over, just so you can kind of work out if you want to grind it or if you just kind of want to buy it afterwards. Obviously, it's been a pretty busy last few days. There's been quite a lot of stuff going on, and there was another update to the dev server again this morning. There was a huge update to it, like a few gigabyte update, but I haven't been able to check anything because every time I try and open it, it just crashes. So I'm going to have to fix that before anything goes on. Anyway, let's get into the devblogs. Let's get into some thoughts, and if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also like the video. Let's get started. The first devblog we're having a look at is the Leclerc MSC, the Proto Leclerc, and they actually kind of fixed it on the dev server, so it still doesn't have really any armor, but they did actually give it access to its APFS DS. The devblog itself does actually talk about the round that it will get, which is basically the same rounds that the AMX40 gets. So it'll get the G1 Heat FS and the G1 APFS DS. So if you want to see them in game, you can have a look at them. It's also got an autoloader. So basically it will have, at least right now, a 6-second autoloader, which is quite nice, and a laser rangefinder and a thermal sight on top of it. The autoloader is also slightly different from the standard Leclerc. Basically, it has 24 pieces in its first stage ammo instead of 22, which is what the Leclercs had. So, or have, I should say. So you will get at least a little bit more before you have to replenish your first stage if you're going to take more rounds than that, which I would probably say is not really worth it. Even with this vehicle having a lot less armor, the engine stays the same, so it should be incredibly highly mobile, which will be very fun. The smoke grenade setup as well on it is it only has 6 instead of 14. That's quite a big downgrade from the standard Leclerc, but generally is manageable. Basically what this vehicle is a Leclerc with a lot less survivability. So they put it at a much lower BR than the Leclerc, so therefore it can actually have a lineup and be a bit of fun. The history of the vehicle is in the 1960s, France started to look into a new project to replace their AMX-30s as they were becoming outdated compared to NATO and Soviet tanks. In 1978, a project was agreed with Germany to design a brand new MBT together, but it never came into fruition, mainly due to differing views on the core design. In 1982, France continued work alone on an MBT through the Engine Principal de Combat program, with the aim to design new systems for a domestically produced MBT in France. Several proposals for different turrets with and without an autoloader were made, but at the end of it, an autoloading turret was selected. In 1986, the project was renamed after French General Philippe Leclerc de Hautecloque to Leclerc. Following a series of testing different systems, a complete tank was rolled out at Satori in France of 1986. The tank was called the MSC, or the Moulin Système Complet, or testbed, and was the result of many proposed components in one package to evaluate how they work together. It tested turret internals such as a stabilizer and autoloader, and also featured a new chassis optimized for mobility and a 120mm gun, making it a huge upgrade over the AMX-30. After 3 years of tests, the MSC ultimately paved the way for pre-series and production Leclerc tanks to come down the line, with production Leclerc tanks entering service with the French Army in 1992. And what that should tell you is technically in the future, if Gaijin bend a few of their rules, we could actually have a bunch of different Leclerc prototype types, since there were so many of them kind of designed and also built. The only question is if they'll be okay with the whole not really fully put together thing, but as we've seen in the past, it depends really what vehicle you're looking at, whether they are okay with that or not. The second devblog that was released today is the Bismarck. This, of course, is the new big ship that is coming to the German tech tree. You have it at rank 7. It's another one of the machines that's being added with all of the other rank 7s at the same time. Gaijin really pulling out all the stops to get all of the big boy vehicles into the game. The Bismarck being kind of one of the most famous, if not the most famous battleship of the Kriegsmarine, I think is pretty cool to see finally in the game. This vehicle has access to 15-inch guns, which generally should be quite nice. It's a little lower in BR than some of the other vehicles that are around, but it does have quite a lot of nice attributes. It has a pretty good reload on its guns, and also has a hell of a secondary setup, which is pretty cool. The other thing is, it does have a very interesting story on how it was built, and also its kind of only voyage when it comes to the sea, being knocked out by the swordfish, but also at the same time ammo racking the hood. So I'm looking forward to, when it comes to War Thunder now, the amount of cinematics that they're going to set up and do, or at least whether it comes to Gaijin or whether it comes to other players with these big vehicles. The history of the Bismarck is a fun one. Work on the Bismarck began on the 1st of July 1936 at Blom and Voss in Kiel. After several years, she was launched on the 14th of February 1939, and on the 18th of May 1941, she was sent out on her maiden voyage to the Atlantic, together with the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen in Operation Rheinebung. Several days later, the pair would encounter the HMS Hood and the new battleship, the HMS Prince of Wales, along with heavy cruisers Norfolk and also Suffolk. Hood, as the pride of the Royal Navy, was famously sunk by the Bismarck after only 5 salvos, with Prince of Wales able to disengage after several hits. The sinking of the Hood ignited a fierce pursuit by the entire home fleet of the Royal Navy. Despite the victory, Bismarck was not unharmed. One of her boilers was in critical condition, and she was listing starboard, which forced her to head back towards occupied France for repairs. After an inconsequential attack from the aircraft of HMS Victorious, the British lost contact with the Bismarck. Only 2 days later, however, she was detected again by a PBY Catalina. Shortly after her position was relayed, HMS Ark Royal launched several Fairey Swordfish torpedo bombers to attack Bismarck. These, all biplanes, suffered no losses and also scored several hits, with the most pivotal being the Bismarck's rudder. Unable to sail straight, Bismarck was cornered by a British fleet of 2 battleships, 2 heavy cruisers, and also 8 destroyers. The battleships King George V and the Rodney opened fire on the Bismarck, which could not fire effectively due to her damaged control systems and crippled handling, rendering her useless. The British battleships fired around 700 shells of their main batteries at the Bismarck, with the entire fleet firing around 2,800 shells in total. This onslaught turned the German battleship into a floating wreck within 90 minutes, but still did not sink. After orders were given to attack the German Behemoth with torpedoes, it was already listing to the side and the deck was partly underwater. At 10:40 on the 27th of May, Bismarck sank stern first. It's still highly debated if the ship was ultimately sunk by scuttling from her own crew or from the damage, and in 1989 the wreck was found in a depth of 4,800 meters. Of course, the Bismarck didn't really have a great service history, but it shows how even the smallest aircraft can have the biggest impact on such a large machine. The last piece of news, I suppose, is about the T86, which they've finally added to the game, at least in the files now. So we had a look at it earlier, and of course, we had a look at the event the other day. This is coming out on the 5th, so the event is really soon. Basically, straight after the Marut event, this event is going to start. So yeah, there's no time between the events, which is pretty nuts. So let's have a chat about how much I think this thing's going to be worth on the market. Once again, it's a 15 to 20 vehicle right now, and then it'll increase as time goes on. If you have a look at the most comparable one, which straight up just came out, T3485 Partisan, right? So this vehicle at the moment is 1988 on the Gaijin market, and the highest buy price is 1751. So it shouldn't really be too surprising that that's kind of what's been going on. The lowest the price got was around about maybe 15, 16, and that once again shouldn't be a surprise either. So if you're looking to grind this event and you're looking to sell it, you're probably at most going to get 25 to 30 out of it, maybe in a year's time, whereas most of the time it's going to be 15 to 20. Most people who want these vehicles will just grind them, and that's the thing, right? Like, these grinds, at least for this vehicle, it isn't too bad, and it's also not too long. It's 6 stages over 12 days and 35k a piece. you know, that's, at least for me, that's like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of grinding, and for other people, I'm sure less or more, depending on what you play. It's also a premium light tank at rank 3 for America, which is just a fantastic area to be, fantastic BR to have as well. So I feel like a lot of people are going to focus on this. So I wouldn't be too surprised if this thing goes for around about that price, just because the supply of the damn thing is going to be through the roof. Like for example, the Partisan, there's nearly 2,000 of them on the market. And that kind of shows you what's going on. Even the Udu has 2,300 of them still on the market after all of this time. And the T86, unfortunately, is also just kind of a worse Hellcat. I know it has the stabilizer, but it's massive. And being massive means that you can't really play the standard stats, the standard strats that you'd want to with a Hellcat platform. And also the Black Cat exists, so wouldn't you just like pick that up when it's on sale, because it's just a better version of this, and also at the same time just you're gonna have a lot more fun with it. So yeah, we'll see. I think this will be kind of a fun little kind of collector's vehicle. It will be useful because it has the 76mm, but also at the same time I think a lot of people are going to grind this out, and that means that it's going to be a lot kind of cheaper on the market. So yeah, 15 to 20 to start with. It'll get to 25 within a year, and then we'll see where it kind of goes from there. As always, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Warthunder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.